What is up, everyone? Andy from WagerTalk.com. We're going to break down UFC Fight Night Lewis versus Almeida. Hit the like button, please. Just please. Hit the like button. You don't need to wait until after the fights are over to see how good my picks were to hit the like button. You can do that now. And also, leave me a comment. Tell me what your favorite play is on this card. We're going to break down all these fights. Congratulations to Max Newman. Won the contest. The contest was tell me your fighter and how many significant strikes they will have, and you win a care package. Max goes with Goliath, 15 significant strikes. The match gets called early, and Max Newman ends up winning. How about that? So at least somebody made out in that fight. So congratulations to Max for doing that. So let's just get right into the fights, guys. All my plays can be found at wagertalk.com. We will have a UFC play that is going to be up at the time I'm recording this. It's early, so I'm going to wait for that play to come out. But by the time you're watching this, we should have a play up. That is up on wagertalk.com. We're having a really nice year in MMA. I believe we're on a 15-8 run. So low volume, probably only one, maybe two plays on this card, but it is quality over quantity for sure. So let's take a look here, see what we got. And we're going to start with Kaue Fernandes versus Marc Diakiese. And listen, I don't want to bet on Marc Diakiese. It can be dangerous. It can be frustrating. His fight IQ can drive you absolutely bonkers. I hate myself for saying this, but I like him in this matchup. I'm not going to get to the window on it because I've bet on Marc Diakiese fights, and I hate him. I hate having money invested. So we're taking a look at Fernandes here, and 8-1, good record. Comes out of Shudo, Brazil. And here's my concern with him and why I think he's going to lose this match. So he has 2 wins in the LFA, and they're 2 good opponents, but they were very, very quick. Now, his kicks do seem to be very good and effective. Kick to the body and a head kick, so obviously they're effective. But this loss here really concerns me because this fight, he went to decision, and his cardio fell off a cliff. He won the first round. He kind of laid on top of his opponent and didn't do much, and then lost the next 2 rounds, and he was exhausted. Now, this was in 2001, so a lot could happen in 2 years, but I'm just not going to bet on a guy that has shown bad cardio, and then I'm just supposed to believe that it got better. And Diakiese, for all of his faults, this guy's a UFC fighter with plenty of wins on his resume, and he's not going to get nearly as tired as Fernandes showed in that loss. So I actually think Diakiese kind of grounds out a decision win. Who knows what Diakiese is going to try and do? Is he going to try and strike to prove he's an awesome striker? Is he going to try and wrestle and take Fernandes down? I would hope he tries to take Fernandes down because I think that's where he's going to have his best success. If I was Diakiese, I would not want to stand and take some of those kicks. He's got 2 knockouts in his last 2 fights from kicks, and they're tough. But with Diakiese, you just never know. I'm going to lean Diakiese, and I would lean Diakiese by decision in kind of a boring fight unless there's a quick knockout. But I just can't bring myself to bet on Fernandes, who the looking at his loss was really, 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 really concerning with how bad his cardio was. And then Diakiese, you just look at some of his fight IQ and you're concerned as well. So this is not a fight I will have money on, but for the purposes of this video, I will lean Marc Diakiese. Montserrat Ruiz and Eduarda Moura. This probably is a fight I am going to have money on. Moura is making her UFC debut. Massive favorite here. We're looking at minus 450. And it is for good reason. She is undefeated. She is a takedown specialist. She knows how to finish on the ground. She's no joke. So she had a really, really nice Contender Series performance. Just a really, really solid, sturdy takedowns. I hate lazy takedown attempts, and she just does not have it. When she shoots with authority, and she shoots with aggression, and that's what she did on Contender Series. Works the finish and gets a finish in the first round. That's why she's in the UFC. And very, very concerning about Ruiz here on this one. What is concerning is that in her last fight against Jacqueline Amorim, she was the one that got taken down and just looked lost. And she eventually gets finished ground and pound. Before that, she had a long layoff, and then listen, losing really, really quick to Amanda Lemos, I was willing to overlook it. I cannot overlook this loss to Jacqueline Amorim. Based on what I saw in that one, first off, Moura is not going to be threatened by any of Ruiz's striking. Ruiz's striking is just not going to harm Moura. So I think Moura is going to be able to shoot with confidence and not worried about taking a big one. And then once on the ground, I think it's Moura's all day. So I would not wait. You could wait and take Moura inside the distance. I mean, the fact that Ruiz got finished on the ground in her last fight is pretty concerning. I guess you could do it, but if you're looking for a good parlay piece, I'm just not. I don't see the path to victory for Ruiz. So if you're gonna play Moura and you're trying to figure out how you want to make money off of Moura, you have to use it as a parlay piece. You have to add it with something. But I do like Moura a lot. This is one of my more confident plays. I know it's juicy. Find a good parlay piece to put with it. That is something that I will be getting involved with. Angela Hill and Denise Gomes. All right, so Gomes is coming off an incredible knockout of Yasmin Warki. I mean, gets it done in 20 seconds. I mean, looked great. And what's just crazy is just, how young she is, 23 years old. Long career ahead of her, like no question. But can she handle a veteran like Angela Hill? Like, does Angela Hill have some tricks up her sleeve to extend this fight? Does Gomes go in way too hard, way too fast, trying to get the kill shot? And does Angela Hill kind of weather the storm, piece her apart? It's hard to pick Angela Hill, but at the same time, I don't want to bet against her. I mean, she just lost to Mackenzie Dern, but before that, she beats Emily Ducote, she beats Godinez when Godinez, for whatever reason, decided not to wrestle. So 3 losses before that, but I know Angela Hill is working on becoming, full-time announcer. I'm not ready to jump in on Gomes here. I know Gomes is going to have more power, but I just don't want to fade Angela Hill just yet, especially in this matchup when you're going up against somebody that's young. I mean, that last fight only lasted 20 seconds. We didn't get a really good chance to see what Gomes can do over 3 rounds. And Angela Hill's fights always seem to go the distance. So this is going to be a stay away. I will not be betting any of my money on it. Maybe it's a pretty decent in-fight wager. Like if you see Gomes get tired for whatever reason, you can take Angela Hill. Or if you see Angela Hill, taking some really hard shots, you can take Gomes. For the purpose of this video, I'll lean youth and power and take Gomes, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if this goes to the scorecards and you're getting that dreaded split decision and you're sitting there and you're like, oh my God, I bet on Gomes, and now there's like at least one judge that picked Angela Hill. So I'm going to stay away from this one. Slightly into Gomes, but I'm certainly not getting involved with my money. Vitor, Petrino, and Modestas, Bukauskas. So I'm going to start with Bukauskas because I've cashed the last 2 fights of his. I liked him against Tyson Pedro, and I liked him against Zach Pauga. The reason being, I liked that he got cut from the UFC, went and won a couple in Cage Warriors, and I thought he looked pretty good in Cage Warriors. We predicted that Pedro would get tired and Bukauskas would wear him down, win on the feet. That's what happened. And then kind of the same thing happened with Zach Pauga. Like, Pauga kind of got tired. And I got to tell you, Bukauskas, I didn't think was that great in that fight. I thought he looked tired. He wasn't dead to the world, but he certainly wasn't fantastic. And he kind of did the same thing. Worked the jab. He got pushed up against the fence a couple times, but I thought the Pauga fight was 2 guys whose cardio really kind of fell off, and I just wasn't really impressed with either guy. And we moved to Petrino. And listen, Petrino's not exactly known for his awesome cardio. However, in his last fight against Pragnio, there's another guy that's not known for his cardio. Well, he might be known for it, but known for not having good ones. He gets the finish in the 3rd round, and anybody that gets the finish in the 3rd round, you got to have some level of energy left for that. I like how Petrino's style has kind of got better. Like he's only got 5 amateur fights, and I know he's undefeated, but he just hasn't fought a ton. And when you look at who he's fought, it's not been the best. Okay, Rodolfo Bellato, we saw Bellato come back and win on Contender Series, but the Pleasure Man here gets a decision. Okay, that's good. Gets the third round submission. But I do think he's getting a little bit better here, and I think this will be a nice test for him. I'm going to lean Petrino. I just don't like the odds here. Sitting around the minus 250. I see minus 258 on DraftKings right now. So Petrino should have more powerful striking at the beginning of the fight. I think Bukauskas is going to be a little bit faster. I think he's going to be able to move around. But if Petrino gets a hold of Modestas and takes him down, that's Petrino's world all day long. So I think that's kind of where this fight ends up taking place, as long as Petrino can get it to the ground. So I will lean Petrino. It's just this price. I don't like this price. And I really don't have an opinion on over or under. So again, another fight that I lean Petrino, but I will not be putting any of my money on it. Zaleski and Rinat Fakhretdinov. Pretty steep line here, and I got to say, I think the line is right. I think Fakhretdinov should win. And if you're looking for another parlay piece to put with Moura, I think this one could be it. You got Zaleski here who, we talk about low volume and striking. This guy's low volume and taking fights. Split decision against Nurmagomedov, but before that, we hadn't seen him. He beats St. Denis, which, what a crazy win that is on your resume, looking at St. Denis now. So, but listen, 2 years ago, not going to put a ton into that one. He's only, it says he's 36. I think he looks older than that. He's okay. I just don't think he's on Fakhretdinov's level. I think Fakhretdinov has him covered pretty much everywhere. I know Fakhretdinov had the guillotine choke over Kevin Lee. I actually thought the more impressive performance was his win over Brian Battle. I'm a Brian Battle fan. Made a lot of money on him. I did not bet on Brian Battle in that fight because Fakhretdinov is good. And Fakhretdinov won the striking. His wrestling is really good. I think he's got too much here. Fakhretdinov, I think, is going to win wherever it goes. And honestly, I think his kind of hidden little advantage here is probably the wrestling. And he's got cardio for days. He's not going to get tired. And I'm just not seeing a world where Zaleski gets a KO or wins like 3 rounds. It would have to be something really crazy that would happen for him to win, 2 out of 3 rounds. So I think Fakhretdinov wins. I think the price is pretty fair. I actually think it might be even a little bit light, just because I think Fakhretdinov is better on the feet. I know he's better on the ground in wrestling. So I'll take Fakhretdinov. I do not have an opinion on the over or unders there. I will probably be involved some way in this one. I'm just not a believer in Zaleski. Not real impressed with him. Victor Hugo and Daniel Marcos. We got Daniel Marcos undefeated, and he's a favorite here. So Victor Hugo coming off a pretty entertaining win on Contender Series. I broke this guy down for his Contender Series fight, and he's really entertaining. He's constantly looking for submissions. Not a ton of film out there on him. He gets the knee bar win. My takeaway from him is that he's a little wild. It works for him. He's constantly looking for those heel hooks and the knee bars and everything when he gets to the ground. He's gotten away with it, obviously. I'm just not sure he's been fighting the most amazing competition here. And I think he's going to run up against somebody that's going to have some striking form that he hasn't really totally seen before. And I think that's why Marcos is such a favorite here. I don't necessarily think it's because of Marcos's record. I think it's just because Hugo's been kind of fighting these nobodies, and he put on a really, really good performance on Contender Series. He gets the win, but I think Marcos in the striking is going to be able to keep Victor Hugo at bay. And Marcos, I don't know, his decision win on Contender Series isn't amazing, but give him credit. He beats Oliveira, gets the KO. Davey Grant, that was a really good fight. He put a big gash on Davey Grant's nose. He's a little bit low volume for my liking, but I got to say, he's He's powerful enough to where he doesn't throw a ton of strikes. I wish he would throw more, but he does do damage with him, and I think that's going to be the edge here. I think in early rounds he's going to be able to light up Hugo and slow Hugo down just a little bit because Hugo's going to want to try and get this on the ground and look for submissions. Can he do it? Absolutely. I just think he's a little bit wild and he leaves himself open, and there's going to be a few times where Marcos pops him pretty good. So I have Daniel Marcos winning them because Marcos is low volume. With the striking, I can't really get there with a finish. And I think Hugo's cardio is pretty decent. So I will take Marcos to win by decision. Again, probably not going to get to the window on this one. But I do like Marcos to move to 16-0. Yes, Mr. Brener versus Esteban Rivobics. If you guys were like me, you bet against Brener going up against Guram. Kudalaladze, and if you were like me, you couldn't believe it when he lands that crazy shot to the neck in a fight that he was losing and gets the knockout. Kudos to him. The guy's tough. I mean, when you have that kind of power left in round 3 and you can knock somebody out like that, more power to you. And you just got to tip your cap and look at him and go, okay, does he have that kind of upside where he can pull off round 3 knockouts? I mean, this fight against Hugo where he wins a split. So he's fighting Esteban Rivobics, and I got to tell you, I'm not a fan of Rivobics. I think he's got a pretty low ceiling. I mean, low ceiling. His last fight was pretty bad. And he was fighting, and he gets the win. Good thing, because he's fighting Kimawilla Kirk, and that fight was just boring. The striking was boring. The ground game was just boring. Everything looked like it was in a little bit of slow motion. I'm not really sure what he does that is so amazing. He comes off Contender Series, and he has all these round one, and then he gets to the UFC, and he loses a decision, and then he goes to decision. So it's like, okay, you were knocking out bums, but now you're fighting decent fighters. And I just think I want to take Brener, who's got the higher upside. I've seen Brener knock someone out in the UFC. I haven't seen it from Rivobics. And just looking at his last fight, I'm like, man, he's okay, but nothing really said, wow, this guy's really good. It was just a really underwhelming fight. I think he may just not be UFC caliber. So I'm certainly not going to bet this with my money. For purposes of the video, I will lean Brener. I'm staying very, very far away. I can see this going the distance. I can see a knockout in round 1. I see all kinds of possibilities. So I got to tell you, I do not see a whole lot of value in betting this fight. Well, it's a Bonfim fighting night, so we'll start with Ismael Bonfim. Before I break this one down, guys, if you haven't hit the like button, please do so. Really helps the algorithm, helps me out a bit. Just takes a couple seconds. Just bink, hit the like button. And also leave me a comment. Tell me your favorite bet. If your favorite bet is a from hell Pinchel to knock out Bonfim, great. Put it in the comment section. All plays can be found on Wager Talk. We'll have a UFC play up for this card. Just go to wagertalk.com and play will be up there. So, I mean, listen, let's just cut to the chase. You got a 40-year-old Vince Pinchel who is just, he's old. What are you going to do? You get old. He looked old in his last fight against Marc Madsen. And not only did he look old, he looked old a year and a half ago. So, okay, he beats Austin Hubbard. He beats Roosevelt Roberts. Those guys are on the Ultimate Fighter, trying to get back into UFC. He does have a good win against Jim Miller. That's, that looks like a good win, but that was, 3 years ago. He's just old. He just doesn't have a lot of upside. Like what is he, like, awesome at wrestling and grappling? Not this day when he's 40 years old. Is his striking good? Didn't look good last fight, and I struggle to think it's going to be awesome this one. So I think it's just like he's old. And you got Bonfim, and I know Bonfim's coming off the loss to Saint Denis, but man, Saint Denis just looks like an absolute killer. Saint Denis huge for this division. We've seen upside from Bonfim. He's not scared to take strikes to deliver them. That's my knock on this Bonfim, is that he just takes too many strikes. It's like he's got a lot of confidence in his chin. And it's like, well, you can have striking defense, man. You don't have to eat those shots to go in there. I think he gets a little overzealous. I would like to see him calm down just a little bit more and be a little bit more strategic because, it kind of caught him. It kind of caught up to him with Saint Denis, but Saint Denis on another level. I think Bonfim wins. I think it probably gets finished just because I'm not really sure that Pinchel's going to last 3 rounds. I think the age factor is just too much to overcome. So give me Bonfim inside the distance on this one for him to get back on track. This is a really big step down in competition, so I'll take Bonfim inside the distance. You don't have to think too hard about that one. But Bonfim's got to work on that striking defense. He cannot keep moving up and keep eating some of those shots. Rodolfo Vieira and Armen Petrosian. Interesting fight. Really, really close odds, and I get it. Got to tell you, I like the odds on Petrosian here. I like him a lot more than this -110. I think he should be closer to -140, minus 150. So Rodolfo Vieira, I mean, we kind of know what's going on with him. He's going to shoot a bunch. He's going to try and get it on the ground. If he doesn't get it on the ground, he's going to lose on the feet, and he's going to get tired like we saw against Chris Curtis. If he gets it on the ground and he gets you in a compromised position, he's going to submit you like he did against Cody Brundage, who is my least favorite fighter in UFC history. And we saw him do it against Dustin Stoltzfus. But if he doesn't get you down, he's ripe to lose. And I think it just kind of fits into the way Armen Petrosian fights. He's just this sneaky guy that somehow can get guys to kind of tire themselves out. Like he'll lose round 1 and then he'll win rounds 2 and 3. That's what he did against Leroy Duncan. He just pulled away late. He's got, I wouldn't say it's great cardio, but he just knows how to kind of take guys into deeper waters. He knows how to win on the feet. So my concern would be this loss to Caio Borralho. That is concerning because Borralho back when he fought Petrosian was not the amazing takedown that he is now. He was good, but right now I think Borralho's great. And so that's a little concerning because if that version of Borralho, could win that type of fight, yeah, Rodolfo could absolutely do it. I'm just not a believer in Rodolfo Vieira. I think he gets tired too quick, and that is a difference between Borralho and Vieira. Vieira is going to get tired at some point in this fight if it goes 3 rounds, and Borralho just seems to have a better gas tank. So I like Petrosian to win this on the fight. He's got to stuff a couple of takedowns. If he does and he keeps it on the fight, it's him all day, and he just has to, if he gets taken down, he's got to figure out a way to, keep that neck and keep those arms out of trouble and get back up. But I like the odds. I do like Petrosian in this one. So that's my pick on that one. Speaking of Borralho and Abus Magomedov, I think this is my favorite and most confident play. I think it might be Moura, but the more and more I look at it, might be this one. I have no idea why money's been coming in on Abus Magomedov. I really don't. I think this is Borralho all day. So you got Abus, who, okay, he comes into UFC and he makes mincemeat of Dustin Stoltzfus. Great. But then he fights Sean Strickland and is winning at first, and then his gas tank falls off a cliff, and he gets finished. And Sean Strickland himself has said, I don't hit that hard. I win by decision. I don't knock people out. And what I saw from Abus with the cardio is just like, talk about a red flag. And we look at, back, when he was in the PFL, he did go to decisions at some, in some of these, but maybe something's happened because that was 5 or 6 years ago. I just know I don't want anything to do with Abus if this fight gets out of the first round. And I think Caio Borralho is on a very, very nice career path. I think he's going to be fighting for a championship sooner rather than later. So I also have won money on him on every single fight. I picked him in Contender Series, picked him again, and just kept going with him. I've had a good read on him. Those fights have all gone kind of how he's seen it. And I love the Jimmies out of the Nerds. They just always seem to have the right game plan. Here's the game plan for Baralo. Take Abus down in the first round and tire him out. It shouldn't be that hard to tire him out. I know Baralo in his last fight, like, used his, he wanted to strike a little bit with Ola Kasachek, and he did. But then he shoots for the takedown, gets it, and gets the finish. I don't think there's much messing around with Abus because he does have one-shot knockout power. We saw it with Stoltzfus. So if you're Kyle Baralo, I think there's just no overthinking this. You take it down to the ground and you try and submit him after you tired him out. And based on what we saw against Sean Strickland, it's not going to take much to tire him out. So I think Baralo does it. I don't think he messes around. I don't think he overthinks this fight. I don't think he gets too cute. So I do like Baralo. I will say, if you want to wait until props come out, you could take this to not go the distance in case Magomedov gets a flash KO early. But I will say, if these odds are a little bit light, I think Baralo wins inside the distance. I mean, that cardio from Abus and Sean Strickland, when you get finished by Sean Strickland, I don't see how your cardio is going to last when you're on the ground when Baralo's wrapping you up and has got a body triangle on you. So if I'm taking Baralo, I think I might wait and just play it inside the distance. I would hope to get less than minus 200 on it. So I've made money on all of Baralo's fights. I think I can do it again here. Not a fan of Abus Magomedov. And the other thing is Abus Magomedov is a replacement fighter. This was not a fight that UFC designed. He's replacing someone. So Rodrigo Nascimento and Dante Almeida. I would just think to take this one to go the distance. These guys are really low volume. I don't think it's going to be a great fight. And I think they're both going to lose kind of their KO power over each other a few minutes into the fight. I know that Dante Almeida is... Okay, he knocked out Andrei Arlovsky. I mean, Arlovsky looked like he didn't have 1 foot out the door. Arlovsky looked like he had 2 feet out the door for his retirement. And so we look at Dante Almeida before that decision to Augusto Sakai. Okay, he finishes Josh Priest and whatever. Goes to decision against Rocky Martinez. So he lost a few years ago, but I'm not, to Nascimento, I'm not really that concerned about that fight. I just think this fight, when I looked at these guys their last couple fights, they kind of throw... They throw okay power, but it's really not doing much damage. And we look at Nascimento, and I mean, Latifi split decision, Tanner Boser split decision. Those are not confident wins. I mean, Boser's terrible. Latifi's, I think he's retired at this point, maybe not. So loses to a Daukaus, that's bad. When you lose to a Daukaus, so neither of these guys are very, this is not high level. I think both of them are going to kind of stand off and touch each other with jabs. And once we get to like the second round, I don't think either one of them is going to have the power to knock them out. So I really don't. It's dog or pass on this one because no way. Neither of these guys should be minus 180 over each other. So I'm just going to take. I'm not going to take this with my own money, but I would say if you're playing it, it's on Dante Almeida. But I do think it goes the distance. Hopefully we get a decent price on that one. If it's a good price, I may sprinkle it. If it's a bad price, I'll stay away from it. So down to the last 2 fights, guys. Once again, hit the like button, leave me a comment, tell me what your favorite play is, and don't forget to grab all of our plays on wagertalk.com. UFC Best Bet will be up as we hope to cash. And also, guys, on our separate YouTube channel, Takedown Live, the YouTube channel Takedown Live, we're live for all of the UFC events. So Saturday, if you're just looking to hang out, we talk UFC, watch the fights live, do in-fight wagers. Great group of people. A lot of fun. So, all right, co-main event, Gabriel Bonfim versus Nicholas Dalby. Are they just going to do this thing where they can't have one Bonfim fight? I guess they are. So, all right, well, so huge odds again here. We have everyone's probably doing the Bonfim parlay. I'm guessing. So is he going to be able to overwhelm Nicholas Dalby like he did Trey Waters and Lizez and Trevin Giles? I don't know if he's going to be able to. He's certainly going to try, and he's going to have success at some point. I just think that Dalby is kind of a different type of fighter than who Bonfim has fought. Dalby is a dog, man. Like, he just, his fights can be rugged and just like, there's no quit in him. They can be kind of boring, but then sometimes you're just like, man, how are these guys still standing? And then you're like, but it's kind of a slow fight. I just think he's going to be tough enough to weather the storm from Bonfim. He'll eat some shots, and Bonfim will probably get him on the ground. And when he gets him on the ground, Bonfim's going to be looking for the submission. The speed on the ground is going to be a big, big advantage for Bonfim. But I just think Dalby's this guy that makes life kind of difficult. Like, you look, his last 3 wins have all gone the distance. You know, unanimous, split, and unanimous. Loses 10 means, but you know, the fact is, this guy is, what is he, 5-1 in the UFC? He's no pushover. I know Bonfim's going to come out and he's going to be super, super aggressive. His cardio is pretty good, but if he goes too hard too early, that's the exact scenario that Dalby likes, is if Dalby kind of gets touched and beat up a little bit in the first round, but he smells that the other guy's starting to tire out, I think Bonfim could be in a little bit of trouble. Could Bonfim win in round 1? Absolutely. Is that more likely than Dalby to win by decision? 100%. I just know I'm not going to be putting Gabriel Bonfim like round 1 in any plays. I do think he wins, but at this price, man, you have to put it with something that you are really, really confident in. So for purpose of the video, yeah, I think Bonfim wins. I'm not sure if he gets it inside the distance just because I have a lot of respect for Dalby and just how tough he is. But the speed advantage, submissions, yeah, it's probably going to be Bonfim. I'm just not going to play it. I think there's just a couple of better spots on this card, seeing as how the price on Bonfim is creeping up to the minus 600. So, speaking of big favorites, Jailton Almeida and Derrick Lewis. I just don't know why Derrick Lewis accepted this fight. It just seems like a really bad matchup for him. So, okay, congratulations. You got a win, 30-second knockout. Flying knee, that was great, but before that, he's losing, to these guys. He beats Diakiese, he beats Blades, but listen, we know what Jailton Almeida is going to try and do. He's going to try and get his hands around Derrick Lewis, force him to the ground, and win by submission or ground and pound. It's been a liability for Derrick Lewis, and I know he's coming off of a win. It was exciting. Everyone loves him. His post-fight interview was amazing, but I don't think Almeida messes around on the feet too much here. I think Almeida tries to do what he can early to set up the wrestling. I think it pushes Derrick Lewis forward against the fence. And then once he gets Derrick Lewis down on the ground, it's just Almeida all day long. So, these guys are virtually the same size, obviously much different body types. But when Almeida, man, when he gets that clinch and he gets his arms around you, he's just so tough, man. So tough. So, I hope Derrick Lewis is getting paid a lot of money for this one. I imagine he probably is, but stylistically, I do not understand why Derrick Lewis accepted this fight. Do not be surprised if Derrick Lewis swings hard and swings early because he probably knows I got to get this guy knocked out. So I would take this fight to not go the distance. You can take Almeida inside the distance, as I'm not really sure what Derrick Lewis is going to have for him once this thing gets to the ground. So prediction is Almeida maybe tries to weather the storm, probably eats a few shots from Derrick Lewis, but eventually wraps up, gets him down on the ground, and wins by ground and pound or submission. So Almeida inside the distance. And I know that's a square play. I know that that's what everyone says, but I just, outside of a Hail Mary KO, I don't know how else to break down this fight. So Fernandes, Diakiese, slightly into Diakiese, but I'm not betting that with my own money. Moura over Ruiz, one of my favorite picks on this one. I like Moura a lot. I think she wins this one on the ground. Angela Hill, Denise Gomes, ever so slightly into Gomes, but again, I'm not betting my money on it. Angela Hill may have a few veteran tricks up her sleeve to avoid the big shots. Maybe Gomes gets tired. Bukauskas and Vitor Petrino. I like Petrino to win that one. I do not like the odds, therefore I'm not going to bet it with my money. The minus 258, I believe, is just it's too steep. I don't want to get involved. Bukauskas is no pushover. Petrino maybe has some cardio issues. If Petrino gets it on the ground, it should be him all day, but I'll be staying away. I'll lean Petrino for a pick for this video. That way, if I get it wrong, you guys can leave your comments there. Zaleski, Fakhretdinov, love Fakhretdinov in this matchup. Not sold on Zaleski. I don't think he has the offensive weapons to hurt Fakhretdinov. I think Fakhretdinov has him covered on the feet and in the wrestling department. Daniel Marcos, Victor Hugo. I lean Marcos. I'm certainly not betting it. I think Hugo's a little bit wild and a little inconsistent. He can pull off some crazy submissions. We've seen it. But I think Marcos is going to have the big advantage striking on the feet. And I think he lands some big shots early to slow Hugo down. So I will take Daniel Marcos to continue the unbeaten streak. Brener, Rivobics. I'm not betting with my own money. I'm just not a fan of Rivobics. I think Brener has a little bit more upside, so I'll lean with Brener. I'm certainly not betting this fight. Ismael, Bonfim, and Pinchel. Yes, I'm going to fade the 40-year-old fighter who hasn't fought in a year and a half. Bonfim's speed is just going to be too much for him. I think he probably gets the finish. But again, I don't like Bonfim's striking defense. This is just not a fight where you can fade it. Vieira and Petrosian, leaning Petrosian on this one. I think he might be able to stuff a couple of takedowns from Vieira. I think he's just that guy that pulls away in rounds 2 and 3. So unless Vieira really does some damage in round 1, I think Petrosian kind of just ends up making him fight his fight. So I like Petrosian on the close odds. Kyle Barallo and Abus Magomedov. I love this fight to not go the distance. I like Kyle Barallo inside the distance. I think Magomedov's cardio was alarming against Sean Strickland. I think Barallo's smart enough to realize there's no reason to stand on the feet and strike for too long. Shoot, he says he has the best double leg in the UFC. He may be right. So use that. I think he gets it done, and I think Magomedov fades and gets finished. Nascimento and Dante Almeida. Dogger pass for me, so slight lean on Mays. I do think this fight goes the distance, but not a fight I'm betting with my own money. Gabriel Bonfim, Nicholas Dalby. Again, this is the odds just keep me away from this one. So Dalby's tough. Could Bonfim finish early? Yeah, absolutely he could. I just don't want to lay close to this minus 600 on him. I don't know what the odds are going to be on Bonfim inside the distance. My guess is it's probably going to be like minus 400. So the odds are simply what keeps me away from this one. And Jailton Almeida, Derrick Lewis. Jailton Almeida inside the distance. I looked at this one. I tried to come up with maybe Derrick Lewis can. And it's just if he lands a Hail Mary shot, great. But if he doesn't, that's just Almeida all day. So those are the picks for UFC Fight Night. Jailton Almeida versus Derrick Lewis. Thanks for joining, guys. All plays can be found on wagertalk.com. Hit the like button. Leave me a comment. Tell me your best play. Good luck. We'll see everyone on the next video.